Here with John Randine and Robin Black. Obviously the biggest news story going on today in mixed martial arts. A report, it was broken by Ariel Helwani at MMAfighting.com. Champion Rafael Dos Anjos is out of UFC 196 on March the 5th, suffering a broken foot last week. And as we are taping this, no replacement has been announced as of yet. We have every indication Conor McGregor will be fighting on this card, and there's not going to be any shortage of candidates that are putting their hand in the air and want that fight.
Yeah, I think some of the names, Donald Cerrone, Nathan Diaz, Anthony Pettis, Eddie Alvarez, and Tony Ferguson are some of the names people are talking about. Apparently, Donald Cerrone has pictures of him running from yesterday, hired Mike Dolce. So, I mean, he's coming off that fight with Alex Oliveira where he virtually sustained no injuries. Coming off a training camp, wouldn't this make the most sense if you're Donald Cerrone?
Yeah, hey man, it's red panty fight. Everybody wants it, right?
Donald Cerrone also isn't the fighter, as we interviewed, that is really going to be your, let's weigh the positives and negatives of this.
Nope.
I don't think he's looking at any list.
So you need a big fight. This is a big fight, especially Cerrone coming off of that the win recently over Alex Oliveira, although he did lose to Rafael Dos Anjos.
Hey, Conor McGregor, 6 of his last 12 opponents have been changes. The last 12 fights, 6 of the original guys, no dice. Why? There's probably in the earlier stages was some mental mental warfare, where the stress of it is so high that guys find ways that they're not feeling right. Other ones, we talked about it today. That stress, that additional stress of, I ain't losing to this guy. I don't care. The way he talks, the way he acts, I'm not losing to him, makes you overtrain. You actually train harder. Coach is like, hey, let's take a break. No, I got to keep training. Train through the injury. You don't want to be out. You just are out. And it's this kind of thing. You're facing this guy, and there's no way I'm going to lose to that guy. So you train your brains out. And that has been a part of it. That could be a part of it when Aldo was out late. That could be a part of it when RDA is out now, is that overtraining syndrome that happens because of that. But for Conor McGregor, hey man, this happens every second fight. He doesn't train for his opponent specifically. He doesn't train for particular things that the opponent does. He trains every day in the gym to get better at everything he does. He trains to improve every skill set, to improve his mentality, to improve his physicality. He's training. The opponent is just a body type and a collection of skills. And why is that a good thing? Well, if you're not training for a certain guy and that guy happens to go out and a new guy is in, it's irrelevant. You're ready.
This very much mirrors the UFC 189 situation where Jose Aldo was hurt and Chad Mendes stepped up on very short notice, and we heard all about the issues. This guy was not in shape when he took that fight. He was not expecting to have to fight on such short notice. I'm curious how many fighters look at that as an example as opposed to the payday that they're in for to do this on short notice. On top of that, we know a few names that are not in the running. Jose Aldo, Guilherme Cruz reported, he was offered this and cannot do this on such short notice. He only started light training over a week ago. Another one, they want to keep the Khabib Nurmagomedov-Tony Ferguson fight intact for the Fox card, so I think that eliminates those options. But
Frankie's injured.
Frankie Edgar is also injured as well, so that eliminates that option at 155, which it would have to be at. On top of that, you look at, is it even so much important who is put in this slot? It's the key guy didn't get hurt here in Conor McGregor. I mean, Conor McGregor fighting at 155 presents its own storyline. It's not the ideal scenario of him going for the title, but you can put almost anybody in this spot, and the key guy is fighting.
Yeah, 100%. Just like when Ronda was fighting, it didn't matter who was standing across the cage from Ronda Rousey. People that tuned into Ronda Rousey fights weren't there to see Kat Zingano. They weren't there to see Miesha Tate. They were there to see Ronda Rousey, just like people are there to see Conor McGregor. And you mentioned 155 pounds. That is enough of a story to intrigue people. And this should be a message that athletes should learn that you have to be fight ready, because you never know when the biggest opportunity of your career can come your way. Right now, if Nathan Diaz is in shape and ready to go, yes, he's still going to have a disadvantage because this fight is only in a couple of weeks, but be as close to fight ready as humanly possible so when the UFC calls that you're ready to take on a huge opportunity.
And my friends, this is always very fascinating. These kind of discussions are really good for the business of the UFC. They're good for any business. If people are chatting, people are theorizing what's going on. But always question these things, because bear in mind, whether you're Nate Diaz or Cowboy Cerrone or anybody, you're trying to push the amount of Instagram followers you have, get your own activity on Twitter. Twitter. These things help their businesses. So Cerrone goes and hires Dolce because, hey, man, this could happen. Why not? Puts it out on Instagram. Everybody spreads it. Diaz says, come by my gym later. I got something to announce. That thing could be like, yo, bro, why don't you want to fight me, bro? Could be anything. So it is really fun to engage in these conversations. But in the world that we live in, they're all conjecture until somebody comes out. Often it is our friend Ariel who has that nugget of information and has some kind of confirmation. Until then, let's just have fun chatting about it.
Yeah, well, one of the things I think would be interesting is you look at the names: Cerrone, Alvarez, Pettis, Nathan Diaz.
Who's John Ramdine's pick if you had those options available?
I think Donald Cerrone, because of the fact that he just went through a training camp. He only had that fight on Sunday night, so he's going to be as close to fight ready as possible. Anthony Pettis wasn't training for a fight. Eddie Alvarez wasn't training for a fight. So it's going to be difficult for them to be ready in 2 weeks. But
even if it's 155 pounds.
Again, I don't know. Anthony Pettis
Alvarez
seems like a big guy.
In shape.
Yeah, he's always in shape.
But hey, man, like I said, it's the red panty fight. You got to take this one.
What's the best, if you look at all of those opponents, who do you believe has the best skill set
what
to
fight
present?
does Robin want to break down?
Pettis, I want to see. And also another thing we got to take out of the conversation, oh man, this guy doesn't deserve that shot. Listen, it ain't about deserve when you get to 12 days and 11 days and 10 days. It's about whatever we can find, because McGregor wants to fight because he's done this so many times. Get paid, keep fighting. When you build something in your mind that you'll fight whoever it is and you can handle the change, you have to stay true to that. This guy's about staying true to himself. It's not even necessarily the money or reputation. It's about staying true to your beliefs. He is so confident because the belief structure that he builds, he lives. So he wants to fight. Whatever fight is there, I'd love to see Pettis. I'd love to see Alvarez. I'd love to see Cowboy. I would love to see Nate Diaz, man. Whichever one is ready to go, whichever one can make the weight.
On top of that, we've heard many fighters say, we have that March 5th deadline or that date for me to get inside of the cage. They don't want that taken away from them. They've been working towards that, and all the hard work. Many fighters that I've talked to said, that day is my reward. That is the time to have fun. I don't want to waste all the last 10 weeks to not get a chance to go to the dance. And I'm sure Conor McGregor feels the same way.
Before we wrap this up, we had a chance earlier today to chat with Michael Bisping, who's getting ready for his own fight this Saturday against Anderson Silva, and reacted to the news that Rafael Dos Anjos is out and Conor McGregor is waiting for a new opponent.
Well, of course, for Conor McGregor, it's very disappointing, It's very disappointing for a lot of people, for the fans, certainly the UFC. I'm sure this is providing a major headache right now. But I think the main upset goes to Rafael Dos Anjos. That would have been a huge payday for him, I'm sure. Conor, the thing about Conor is that, he is a true fighter. For all the talk and bluster and all this and that, the guy's a fighter. He's a professional. And listen, we all do it for money. That's why we do it. Simple as that. That is the bottom line. We are professional fighters. We do it to earn as much money as we can. Conor is generating the hype. He's generating the interest. And whenever he fights, it will be a big payday. So, and he's not bothered. He's really not bothered whether it's Nate Diaz, Donald Cerrone, whoever it may be. I'm sure Conor isn't going to turn anyone down. The beauty for Conor is that they all have to take it on a short camp, of course. So I would be very confident going into that situation. But I guess we'll wait and see what happens. But I'm looking forward to the fight, regardless of who the new opponent will be.
That is Michael Bisping, who's fighting this Saturday in London, England, against Anderson Silva. Another element to this entire thing is how this affects Conor McGregor, in particular, at featherweight. Many people have surmised that Conor McGregor is never going back to 145 pounds. If he fights on March 5th, presumably at lightweight, that would naturally segue that they go back to McGregor Dos Anjos, providing a McGregor win as your UFC 200 fight. Can we look at that this might be an even further statement that Conor McGregor is not going to be fighting at featherweight anytime?
Well, it depends. It depends on what happens. And again, some of the things we're hearing right now is that it could be Nathan Diaz. What happens if it is Nathan Diaz and Nathan Diaz manages to beat Conor McGregor? Right? And it's like you come to 155 pounds, and I know we've seen Conor McGregor. He's been a champion at 155 pounds, so I know he's going to be fine there. But if he loses this next fight, his important fight at 155 pounds in the UFC, you would imagine that he would have to take a step back and go down to 145 pounds. However, he's talking about not only fighting at 155 pounds, that he's going to go up and fight Robbie Lawler at 170 pounds. And I think Brendan Schaub said he's going to knock him out.
Yeah, well, Brendan Schaub may be trolling us on that one, but maybe not, man. McGregor is a very special talent. Among the things that make him special, and we've talked about that a lot here, is his mental strength, his confidence, and that mental belief system that he has built for himself. And that system is why he was able to be an enormous man who kept his weight low enough to be within hard striking range of 145 pounds and then do the hard work to make 145. But he has got to be feeling good walking around eating steak and potatoes right now. He looks enormous. That feeling is, if he goes in and does well at 155, he might say goodbye to 45.
I don't feel it's going to be all that long until we have an opponent locked in, and we will be discussing whoever that person is, but want to give you a reminder that this Saturday we are live at 3 p.m. Eastern Time with a 1-hour preview show, and then the main card from London, England, airing here on Fight Network in Canada, featuring Anderson Silva and Michael Bisping, all going down at 4 p.m. Eastern.